right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Survive and Thrive Wednesday, where each week for Glendale Church Online, we're trying to bring on somebody who's smart to talk about things that we're thinking about and trying to figure out related to COVID-19. Last Wednesday, we were pleased to have epidemiologist Alex Dubov share his perspective from a social health research perspective on what's happening and what we can do to protect ourselves and others from the virus. You can see his presentation on our church YouTube page. Next week, we are going to have one of our city council members, Artie Kasakian, join us to talk about what's happening in Glendale and how things are working and talking about how our city is dealing with the crisis. But tonight, we are pleased to have Dr. Jean Kim, who's a neuropsychologist in private practice in LA and happens to be married to Pastor Mike. And we are grateful that she will be able to share tonight about how we can manage anxiety and our mental health during this crisis. For our questions tonight, let's just ask you, as you have questions you'd like to ask her, to type them in the chat feature, and I'll read them to her as we go along. And we'll just have back and forth conversation. And I know Jean is very happy for this to be kind of a wide open dialogue, just asking questions that you have on your mind tonight. So let's have a good time together. Jean, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you. Oh, hold on. How did I mute you? Hold on just a second. I didn't mean to mute you. I'm sorry.
That's
now,
okay.
Go ahead.
No problem. You can mute me anytime.
I would never do that.
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to start off with how I kind of picture like the basic steps of good mental health. And you guys have heard before at the church, I've talked about this as kind of the triangle of awareness, or like the 3 pillars of awareness. And just to review, first of all, the feelings that people have that come up, negative or positive, our job is to identify those feelings, like stop enough to identify those feelings and to sit with them and be open to them and to let the feeling take hold. That's like a temporary process. So after you accept the feeling, feel it, process it, you move on. And you might have to do that over and over again for things that are short lasting and things that are longer lasting. So if you have something like a grief process where someone has died, that may take many, many months. And it's healthier to not be in that state constantly, but to take time to be in that state and to fully experience it and process it, and then move on to the rest of your day until the next wave comes. But to be aware and mindful. So that's kind of the thing that you do with feelings. The other pillar or side of the triangle is our body sensations. So oftentimes we have anxiety is a really good example where your body feels very tense. You have shallow breathing. You have all these symptoms that people are usually not aware of until it's gotten to a point where it's just unbearable. But by the time you notice something like the tension from anxiety, it's probably been going on for a while. The physiological cycle of anxiety within the sympathetic nervous system is very fast, like seconds, and cycles again and again until a person notices and says, oh, that's what my body's telling me. Or, oh no, I'm having a panic attack. Or, oh no, I'm feeling like I'm immobilized and I can't move. Your body has been going through this physiological cycle many, many times by the time you get to that point. So being more and more aware earlier in the process and being sensitive to all parts of your body telling you, what's going on inside is very important. And kind of the fix to that is being good to your body, doing a lot of good self-care, increasing mindfulness. So any type of stretching, yoga, breathing exercises, even like full-on aerobic exercise is fine as long as you are aware of your body. I know many people who just love, love, love to exercise, but it doesn't necessarily help with anxiety unless you're also mindful. That makes maximum benefit. And then the last kind of pillar is the thought process. And so the thought process is, a lot of times we have defenses and our brain makes assumptions, beliefs, lots of distortions. So my kids, they're like, we're trapped in the house forever. Well, that's a distortion because it isn't going to be forever. It's going to be a very maybe difficult few weeks or few months. But so correcting those kinds of distortions, even if you know that they're distortions, you actually have to very purposefully remind yourself of what is actually accurate. Like I'm not, a distortion might be during this time, I can't handle this. This is too difficult for me. I'm going to go bonkers. I can't stand being in this house with all these people. This is going to be very horrible. Those types of statements, which are distortions. They're not actually true. What is true is that you're going to be in close quarters and you might have more opportunities to have conflict. Yes, you are going to have to work a little bit harder to, go around each other or, talk through conflict once in a while or, spend time in separate rooms in the house to, keep sanity. But the fact that this is unbearable and you can't stand it and you're not going to make it, those are not true. So based on those kind of 3 areas of mental health, what I would highly recommend is that after kind of the initial feeling like, woohoo, I'm on vacation, I can sleep in, I can do whatever I want, I can, watch Netflix for 12 hours if I want, definitely everybody should eventually get onto a regular schedule. Todd and I were talking about this, how if you don't have a regular schedule, your body is, it only responds to whatever input you give it, So if you don't wake up the same time every day, your circadian rhythm gets really messed up. That can affect mood, especially in people who already have a history of depression, anxiety, etc. It can really mess up mood. So for those that are sensitive, I always encourage them to, get up at the same time every day, go to bed same time every day, have routines. A schedule that I like to keep is, I'm not a morning person, so I might wake up at like 9 and then, I'll read for an hour because it takes me a while to like wake up and then get some sunshine, go outside. Me and the kids have been riding bikes, going for a walk, whatever it is so that the sun hits my face, my eyes, and sets the time inside my brain, you know. And then maybe another thing I'll do, say, you know, okay, now it's time to go do some work. Now it's time to, you know, direct the kids. Okay, you're in charge of this hour when you have to like clean up and do whatever mom nags you to do. It's just an hour, and then the rest of the day is free for you. So, and then it's like the rest of the afternoon, I've been telling myself, okay, I can work if I feel like I'm in the flow. You know, I happen to be in a position where I can choose when I work. So, you know, I can work when I feel like my brain is in the flow and it has the energy, understanding that I'm in this environment where we have a lot of anxiety in, you know, going around the world, and we have a lot of concerns about, you know, staying healthy and not being able to have outlets outside. So I'm going to choose when I have kind of a flow going in my brain, I'll work. And otherwise, I'll do activities that are going to maintain my sense of sanity. So putting in a little bit of fun and putting in a little bit of mindfulness, um, you know, treating myself to, you know, preparing something yummy to eat, all those things that are within my control. So a schedule is very important. And winding down at the end of the day and having a regular routine, just like babies, we're not any different. We need that routine. Insomnia is epidemic, probably pandemic, in adults, and it seems to get worse as we get older, you know, because we don't need as much sleep, and we're not growing anymore. So but we're not any different from babies in that we are creatures of habit and really do need that routine. You know, no, we can't do one more thing. No, we can't be stuck on our phones, you know, until it's too late. Um, no matter what day it is, it's really good to have a routine that you can look forward to, that you know you're going to relax with, and go to bed. That's how people fell asleep before electricity. And it's harder now with all of this artificial kind of light and activity that keep our brains awake, and there's like no cues to tell it to like slow down and go to bed. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Anxiety in the moment. Okay, for people who have anxiety in the moment, obviously we cannot worry about all of this going on around us continually all day long, right? My best advice is, if you have this anxiety that's just overwhelming, set aside a time when you actually can think things through and problem solve and feel anxious. I say, you know, put a little box in your day that says, okay, this is going to be a free time when I can actually worry, when I can try to problem solve something, you know, be effective in reducing some of this anxiety. And then outside of that, I have no control. You know, if my worry is not participating or not being productive, not moving anything forward, then the rest of the day, once that worry period is out, you know, done, you just kind of have to ignore it again and again and again, you know. You can spend some time problem solving and then self-soothing, like, okay, I did this, this, and this. I'm going to take care of my body the rest of the day. This is how I plan to keep kind of putting aside the anxiety. And so you're not just going under and completely ignoring it all the time and being in denial or repressing it, or, you know, that doesn't work, because it always shows up in your body somehow, right? not being able to sleep, or high blood pressure, or yelling at your spouse, or whatever it is, right? But just setting aside that time that's very purposeful and intentional to actually worry, and then the rest of the day is yours. You can do other things. And like anything else, it requires lots of practice, so it's not going to be automatic. It's going to take time to automatically kind of set aside the anxiety in your mind when it creeps up on you all day long. But your brain will make a new pathway that will get more used to that way of dealing with anxiety over time. But it does take this foundational kind of experiential practice, not just knowledge about it, but actual doing it, rubber meets the road, on the ground, doing it. Much different than just knowing it, talking about it, listening to a speaker, tell you how to do it. Moment by moment, doing all these things that I'm suggesting you is quite different and hard work, but much longer lasting results if we actually do the work moment by, and we're just looking for just noticeable differences every day. We're not looking for miracles. We're looking for just noticeable differences, because that's how you build the pathways, just like building muscles. You're not going to be buff just from one day at the gym, right? It takes just that little incremental practice every single day. And when you look over weeks or months worth of time, you're like, wow, okay, if it's better than a few weeks ago, then I'm making progress. I can't think of anything else to say about COVID. Do you guys have questions?
I've got one question from your husband. I was going to make, and then I have a couple questions if nobody else has any. But yeah,
Okay.
if you'd like to get a question to Jean, just throw it up on the chat feature, and
Okay.
we'll talk about it.
I'm rolling my eyes because he's right next door, right here. Anyway, right. Go ahead.
So going back to how you talked about managing our thoughts, interacting with our thoughts, and then dealing with them, he asks, with my distorted thought process, am I trying to replace the distorted thought with a more healthy thought, or am I just wanting to recognize and name it as distorted thinking?
Yes, both actually. So if you name it and recognize it, it brings it into your consciousness, right? Most of us, if your thoughts are not examined, sometimes people will say, or a lot of times people will say, I don't even know what I'm thinking about it. I just feel upset, you know? Well, there are thoughts. You just haven't consciously, brought them up and formulated the words to it. So we have thoughts that, like, for instance, how do children who don't have language, pre-verbally, do they have thoughts? Yes, they do. Even before you've learned how to put words to it in the right order, So everybody has thoughts. It's just being able to identify them and articulate it, once you have the ability to use language. So yes, identifying them is very important. And then when you correct them, when you replace them with more accurate thoughts, you're not being Pollyanna-ish and saying, oh, everything's fine, or I'm just going to be happy. No, it's recognizing that what the difficulty really is accurately and what it is not. We are trapped at home. We do have limitations now. That is the truth, right?
Right.
No one can contest that. It is going to be more or less more difficult for everybody during this pandemic. So we don't want to deny anything that's actually true. We want to make sure that we validate it within ourselves. But, we also have to balance that with, is this the end of everything? You know, Nothing we can control about it says that. Um, we can only control what we can control, and we can't control other people's actions. We can't control, you know, um, where the virus is floating around. We can't control, you know, uh, people hoarding, you know, and taking things away from us, or us feeling like, there are bad actors out there. I mean, these are all true. But is it everybody?
Mm.
No, it's a very minority of people, I'm assuming. Um, is it something that we have to listen to the news about every single day, all day long, and just be, angry and judgmental about it? No. Um, if you feel like that is helping you to manage something, then by all means go ahead. But I'm very doubtful of that. I think when we are gratuitous with listening to the news just to see, it's almost voyeuristic. It's like, let's just see what bad stuff is going on. Let's see what bad stuff people are saying. Let's see what things our leaders are not doing. Um, those things are out of our control, and I don't feel like our judgment helps any situation. I think an accurate way to look at it is, yeah, I don't like what a lot of people say out there. I don't like how certain individuals are hoarding. Um, but that's where they are. And a lot of people are just motivated by fear, and I have to accept it, and I can only control what I can control. So me personally, I've limited myself to news, like just most of the time just reading it.
Mhm.
And if I listen to certain news programs, I'm just listening to it like on the radio or something. And I know that looking at the news on TV is a trigger for me, like getting upset and not having any sense of being effective in anything by doing that. So I've avoided that and just get the information that I need. Um, I think I went off topic a little bit from the original question, but that's what I mean by making your thoughts accurate. You know, Acknowledging what is happening that's difficult, and at the same time not having this doomsday kind of perspective or exaggerating or you know that kind of thing.
And I think you strayed off topic in your mind from where Mike's question was, but that actually led into what Leif's question was about that managing, the balance between staying informed of what's going on without soaking in it and just letting all the not filtering the information that's coming into you. And
Yeah, it's we have too much information now. What did people do back in the day when they had these kinds of pandemics? So there's pros and cons to all this information, and I feel like the more information we have, like in this technological era, um, the more our brains have to grow in terms of making good judgments and decisions regarding our media intake. Uh, we're not animals just responding from stimulus to stimulus. The reason why, we are humans is we have this ability to actually make choices and not be stimulus bound, right? Um, we have the ability to communicate through language with each other in a very detailed manner. We have all these abilities, so we should use them to, you know, be at higher grounds, you know, make choices that are going to keep us healthy and other people healthy. So yeah, if you feel like things are coming up inside of you, and like you finish watching the news program, and like, what is the residual feeling, you know?
Hmm.
Is it helpful? Was the information helpful, or was it just kind of like, you know, an addictive type of quality, voyeuristic type of quality? You can always tell by what kind of like aftertaste you have, you know? Um, and if it's not good for you, then it's a matter of resisting that temptation over and over again to indulge. Um, I call it a dopamine pedal. So there's this neurochemical called dopamine in the brain that's related, or presses gas, quote, gas into the reward centers of the brain. And every time we pick up the phone, you get a little push. Every time you turn on the TV, you get a little push. Every time you don't hold in your emotions and you yell at somebody, you get a little push. Um, it's the same process with people who are addicted to substances, alcohol, uh, you know, anything, to porn, eating disorders. That sense of like control over that kind of thing puts a little dopamine in there that's like, rewarding. You know, when you play a video game, you score some points and you get that little push. So and then you know, lay pathways that actually make that a huge temptation and kind of a default way to get rewarded in
Hmm.
your brain. And so turning off the news is resisting that pathway that you've developed.
Hmm.
And again, practice on a daily, maybe even moment by moment basis will help to change those pathways. Um,
Well,
and
that's for me. I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that's where I feel like what's slowly dawning for me is, um, as long as for those of us who are in a place of relative good health in these next few weeks, um, this is a golden opportunity that we can actually we have time to put these practices and build habits with them, the things that we've thought about in the past of like saying I need to break out of the stimulus response action and reaction type of living, and actually be very mindful about how are we spending our time in our day with getting into fresh air and sunshine, um, with choosing how much time we spend in these different areas of life, and becoming more aware. This feels like golden mindfulness time if we're not having to deal with any existential crises related to our own health or a family member's health. This is actually very useful recalibration time for us.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm sure for those that have lost jobs and, you know, it's an extremely stressful time. So, but so people might have to find other creative ways to look for work.
Mhm.
Um, if you're lucky enough not to have to do that, you know, you find creative ways to spend your time and to structure the work that you do have. Um, you know, for me, I feel, and for a lot of people, maybe I kind of divide up my day into two. So in the morning, I try to wake up on time and I do the stuff that I have a lot of resistance to, you know. It's not just a matter of like strong will, but I'm trying to structure my day so that I can optimize how much kind of flow that I feel, you know, because a lot of times if I just have a lot to do and I have no really plan, I just feel overwhelmed, you know. And so I've divided up my day into two. In the morning hours, and thank goodness it's only from like 9 to 1 maybe. I do all the stuff that I hate doing usually, or it's hard for me to do, or um, just requires a lot of brain work, and I have a lot of resistance. So I reserve that time to do it. Um, I tell myself, okay, no breaks in the morning. You got to get this stuff done, including like walking and stuff. Um, and then the second half of the day is, yeah, like I said before, if I have the flow, I'll do some work, some extra work that I've always wanted to do. And otherwise, I just do a lot of self-care and caring for my family. Um, so of course, there are exceptions to that, but if you kind of structure, and plan, there's more chance of you doing it than if you don't plan at all and don't think about it at all, right?
Right.
Mindfulness also, like that requires foundational practice, experiential foundation of practice. So I personally, the way that I learned it was being dumped into the deep end. I started off with doing 45, 60 minutes a day through a class, which for me was great. I really liked it. But, if you don't feel like that's for you, just do like 5-10 minutes a day. There's lots and lots of mindfulness apps out there, and it's basically training your brain to be more aware of the here and now, and to be able to resist kind of automatic thinking, automatic behaviors, resist being just stimulus bound. Somebody says something to you, you react. You're worried, and so you just turn on the TV to cope or to escape. Even like procrastinating is kind of like a little bit of reward involved. It's like, so there are many, many things that we automatically and habitually do that are laid down in the brain and are so deeply ingrained that it's very hard not to do unless we are purposeful about it and unless we practice moment by moment until that pathway becomes less prominent and another pathway opens up and becomes thicker and denser and more automatic.
Anybody have any other questions for Dr. Jean?
If you want to, I can take you through some mindfulness. Did we start at 7? So
yeah, we've got, I would say, this, if you want to take the next few minutes, I think, why not? Maybe for those of us who aren't familiar with it, that would be great.
Okay. So let's see, a good one to do, because sometimes people have a hard time with the breathing, but a good one to do just like a one-off thing. Definitely practice the breathing one. Like look at it. There are apps online. There's instructions online. It's just called mindfulness breathing exercises, or the official one is called mindfulness-based stress reduction. The one that was officially done in Massachusetts, originally at the hospital there to help patients who didn't have other options when they had like various illnesses like vascular conditions, hypertension, diabetes. Mindfulness was used as a last resort, and they found out that it actually worked with these conditions. So, and then expanded more into like the mental health and stuff. So MBSR is the acronym Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction if you want to look for something more formal. But there are lots of mindfulness options out there. And breathing, learning how to breathe and be mindful of breathing is one avenue. Another one that I can do today is called the body scan. Sometimes it's called Yoga Nidra on the kind of yoga sites. But it's basically going through your whole body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, part by part by part, and just directing your focus. And I want you to notice what happens during this process. Your brain is going to leave. It's going to leave this presentation again and again and again. And there's no problem with leaving. The only job that you have is to come back. And if you notice that you've left and you come back after a few minutes, great. After a few seconds, great. I don't care. Just keep coming back, and hopefully over time, meaning weeks and months of practice, that'll become less and less, and you'll have a little bit more mindful control and not be so stimulus bound, you know. It also helps with sleep. Okay, so let's try just maybe like 5 minutes. So right now, I'd like you to just kind of notice where your body is. Put your back kind of straight and shoulders down, and just like relax. And you'll notice that I'll tell you to relax, and you'll relax. But then if I tell you to relax again, you can actually do it even deeper once again, like soften the muscles even more. And every time I tell you to relax or take a deep breath, you can relax even more. So it just, you know, it doesn't take just one try. It's like you do it continually, and you'll notice that your body actually responds to it and can relax at an even deeper state than you thought every time. So let's everybody take a really deep breath, and make sure the out breath is a little bit longer or even twice as long. So let's breathe in, and let's breathe out. Try again, breathe in and breathe out. So the breathing in is the sympathetic nervous system. It gets you ready for things. And the breathing out is the parasympathetic nervous system that helps you to rest and digest and slow down. So breathing out a little bit longer is important. Once more. Okay, notice the top of your head. How does it feel? Is your hair, you know, tied back? How does the skin feel? What's the temperature? Is anything blowing on it? Just the top of your head. Try to relax a little bit more. Now notice your forehead. Or try to relax it even more. You notice a difference. Notice your eyeballs and your eyelids and the area under your eyebrow, and try to relax all those. Notice how they're in the sockets, where your gaze is. Now notice your face muscles and relax those. Your jawline. A lot of people hold their negative energy in their jaw, so relax the jaw. Notice where your tongue is and unclench those teeth. Let your tongue rest. Notice your neck. Does it feel loose? Does it feel tight? What's the temperature? Can you relax it again? Let's take another deep breath and a long breath out, and try to go even deeper into that relaxation. Where are your shoulders? Get them out of your ears. Make them go down and relax and become soft. How does your right shoulder compare to your left? Is it even? Is it uneven? Can you feel your shirt? What is your chest doing? Do you feel the breath inside? Is it rising up and down? Feel your upper back against the chair. How does that feel to have your upper back against the chair on something hard or soft? How does your shirt feel against that? Now let's focus on the tummy. What is it doing in there? Is it calm? Is it digesting? Is it empty? Is your breath all the way down there? Do you feel rising and falling of your tummy? What is your bottom doing? Is it okay in the chair that you're sitting in? Is it relaxed? Can you try to relax again? Is your lower back supported, or are you holding it up? How do your waist pants or your pant waist feel around there? Let's take another deep breath in. Remember to breathe and breathe out long. And see if you can get to an even deeper level of relaxation. Let's focus on the legs, your thighs. How do they feel in the chair? How do your pants feel next to the skin? Focus on your shins and your calf. Let's focus on your feet. How do your toes feel? Are they planted on the ground? Is one more heavy than the other? One more breath in and out longer. Let's do one last part, those arms that you've been using all day. How do your arms feel? Are they cold? Are they comfortable? You've been carrying around your hands all day. How do your hands feel now? How does your body feel? Do you feel like you're more aware of what's going on from head to toe? Do you feel a noticeable difference in how much you've relaxed? Do you feel present right now, right here? Okay, one last breath. And breathe out longer. And that's meditation. Doesn't that feel good?
That was great. Well, Jean, thank you very much for spending time with us and taking us through that exercise. That was good to experience how that works. And anyway, we're just really grateful just that you've helped us kind of think through how we're spending our days and how we're doing self-care through this time, and giving us very practical ways of managing it.
You're
And
welcome. And when you do quiet time in prayer or something, you can also do meditation at the same time. I feel like it really helps with prayer too.
yeah, thank you for that. With that, I'm going to let you go so you can stay in your relaxed place and
Okay.
enjoy this time. We will, tomorrow night, we do have prayer and study time on this same link at 7 o'clock. Pastor Mike will be leading us through, and then next Wednesday we'll gather again here for connecting with one of our city council people about what's happening in our city right now. Until then, everyone have a good evening and take care of yourself and be well.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.